What if the exile you feel is not a place but a state of mind? What if the chains you feel binding you were not forged by an enemy but by your own hands in the dead of night, piece by piece, link by link, while you were looking the other way? You wander through the days like a ghost in your own life, a spectator behind your own eyes. You see the feasts of others, you hear their laughter echoing from high walls you cannot scale. You remember a time when you had a voice, a fire, a claim to this world. But now a cold fog has settled in. The kingdom that was rightfully yours, the kingdom of your own potential, has been usurped, and you were banished without a fight. You are the exile, living in the shadowlands of what could be, haunted by the whispers of the person you were meant to become. You feel it in the quiet moments, don't you? That dull, persistent ache of disconnection. It's the feeling of being a stranger in your own skin. You perform the rituals of life, you work, you eat, you sleep, but the substance is gone. The color has drained from the world, leaving only shades of gray. You see others move with purpose, their eyes burning with an inner fire, and you wonder where your fire went. Did it ever truly burn, or was it just a flicker, extinguished by the first gust of wind? You scroll through the lives of others, curated chronicles of victory and joy, and it feels like watching a story from another universe, a world you were not invited to. Each image, each success story is another stone in the wall that separates you from them, from life itself. You are on the outside looking in, your face pressed against the cold glass of a world that seems to have no place for you. This is the silent suffering of the modern exile, not banished to a barren island but to a crowded room where no one sees you, not locked in a physical dungeon but in the prison of your own mind, where the warden is your own doubt and the guards are your past failures. You are surrounded by noise, yet deafened by an inner silence. You have access to everything, yet you feel a profound and gnawing emptiness. You've tried to fight back. You've read the books, listened to the advice. Think positive. Just be confident. Hustle harder. But these words are like paper shields against a storm of steel. They shatter on impact, leaving you more exposed, more defeated than before. Because they fail to address the fundamental truth of your condition, you have been overthrown from within. Your inner citadel, the fortress of your mind, has been surrendered to apathy, to fear, to comfort. And you have forgotten the language of the sovereign who once ruled it. But what if I told you there is a way back? Not a meek return begging for scraps at the gate, but a reclamation, a conquest. What if I told you there is a path to walk, a brutal and beautiful path that will not just lead you back to the life you lost, but to a throne of power you never imagined possible? This is not a path of gentle reassurances or empty platitudes. This is a path of fire and iron. It is the path of Stoic redemption. It is the journey of the exile who returns not as a penitent but as a king. Today, we do not talk about finding happiness. We talk about forging strength. We do not talk about feeling better. We talk about becoming better. We are going to hand you the map out of the Shadowlands and the tools to not only reclaim your inner kingdom, but to make it impregnable, unconquerable, and eternal. This is the blueprint for your transformation from the forgotten exile to the unforgettable force. This is how you become unrecognizable. The first and perhaps most vital truth you must grasp is this: the chains you wear are not made of iron but of opinion. The walls of your prison are not made of stone but of perception. The ancient warriors, the Stoics, understood this with a clarity that could cut diamonds. They recognized that the world outside of us, the chaos of events, the actions of others, the whims of fortune, these are a storm we cannot command. We can scream at the hurricane, but it will not cease its fury for us. We can curse the blizzard, but the snow will not halt its descent. The common man, the exile in his current state, spends his entire life, his entire reserve of precious energy, fighting this storm. He rages against what has already happened. He despairs over what might happen tomorrow. He bleeds his spirit dry wrestling with things that are, and always will be, utterly beyond his control. This is the fool's war, and it is a war you have been fighting and losing every single day. The first step in your return is to declare a ceasefire in this unwinnable war. This is the warrior's pact. You draw a line in the sand of your own mind. On one side lies the entire universe of things you cannot control. The past, the future, the economy, the weather, what other people think of you, whether they praise you or insult you, whether they love you or betray you. You must look upon this vast territory of chaos and willingly, consciously surrender it, not in defeat but in wisdom. You release your grip, you cease your struggle. You let the storm rage, understanding it is not your storm to command. On the other side of that line is a very small but infinitely powerful territory, your kingdom. It consists of your thoughts, your judgments, your choices, your actions, your will, your character. This, and this alone, is your domain. This is the only ground upon which you are a sovereign. This is the only battle you were ever meant to fight. All of your strength, all of your focus, all of your fire must be turned inward to the governance and fortification of this inner world. This is not a retreat. This is a concentration of force. The moment you stop wasting your power on the uncontrollable, you unleash a torrent of energy so immense it can reshape the very fabric of who you are. The exile fights the world and loses. The returning sovereign masters himself, and in doing so, the world bends to his will. Let us speak of the moment of your exile, the shattering. For every exile there is a day the gates slammed shut. A failure, a betrayal, a loss, a profound humiliation. A moment where the world you knew cracked and fell away, leaving you in the cold. Your instinct, the instinct of every human being, is to curse this moment, to see it as the source of all your pain, the beginning of your ruin. You replay it in your mind, a wound you refuse to let heal, picking at the scab until it bleeds again and again. You think, if only that hadn't happened. You build an entire identity around this wound. You are the man who was wronged, the woman who was abandoned, the dreamer whose dreams were crushed. This identity becomes your new home in the wastelands. It is a miserable home, but it is familiar. The Stoic path of redemption demands something far more radical. It demands you look upon the very moment of your shattering not as a curse, but as a gift wrapped in fire. It asks you to embrace the concept of amor fati asterisk, a love of fate. This is not a passive acceptance. It is not shrugging your shoulders and saying, "It is what it is." That is the language of the defeated. Amor fati asterisk is an active, fierce, and loving embrace of everything that has ever happened to you. It is the deep, guttural roar of a warrior who looks at the jagged scars covering his body and says, "This is what made me." You must understand that the universe is not punishing you. It is forging you. The betrayal that broke your heart also taught you the priceless lesson of self-reliance. The business failure that cost you everything also stripped you of your arrogance and forced you to build from a foundation of wisdom. The loneliness that gnaws at your soul is also the sacred space in which you can finally meet your true self, without distraction, without illusion. The exile sees his past as a chain. The sovereign sees it as a chisel. Every hardship, every pain, every mistake was a strike of that chisel, chipping away the soft, useless marble to reveal the masterpiece warrior within. You must learn to love the shattering. You must thank the events that cast you out, because in the desolation of exile, you are free to become who you were truly meant to be, unburdened by the expectations and comforts of the life you thought you wanted. The life you lost was a cage of comfort. Exile is the terrifying, boundless freedom of the wilderness. Here and only here can you grow truly strong. So look back at the worst moment of your life, the moment that defines your exile. See it not as the end of your story, but as the inciting incident of an epic. That was not your death. That was your birth. That was the call to adventure you have been too afraid to answer. Love that moment. Bless it. For it was the violent, beautiful beginning of your return. Now that you have made peace with the past, the forging can begin. The shadowlands of exile are not a place for comfort. They are a training ground, a crucible, The world you left behind made you soft. It was a world of convenience, of instant gratification, of avoiding discomfort at all costs. This softness is why your inner kingdom fell so easily. A fortress built of pillows cannot withstand an attack. Your redemption requires that you systematically hunt down and destroy every trace of softness in you. You must become a student of voluntary hardship. The Stoics called this premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. But let us call it by its true name, staring into the abyss. Every morning the returning exile does not fill his mind with pleasant thoughts and hopeful affirmations. He does the opposite. He willingly walks to the cliff edge of his worst fears. He visualizes in stark and vivid detail the things he is most afraid of. What if I lose my job today? What if I lose the person I love? What if I am struck by illness? What if I am publicly humiliated? He does not do this to torture himself. He does this to inoculate himself. The fear of a thing is almost always more painful than the thing itself. The anticipation of the blow is where the terror lies. By facing the worst in his mind every single day, he robs it of its power. He dies 1,000 deaths in his imagination so that he can live this one life without fear. He has already felt the sting of loss, the shame of failure, the cold grip of loneliness. When and if these things arrive in reality, he will greet them not as a terrified stranger, but as an old acquaintance. He can look the abyss in the eye and say, "I have seen you before. You have no power over me." This practice must be paired with physical hardship. You must reacquaint your body with discomfort, take cold showers. The shock of the cold water is a microdose of adversity. For those 60 seconds, you cannot think of your anxieties or your petty grievances. You can only focus on your breath, on enduring the moment. And when you step out, you have won the first battle of the day. You have told your body and your mind that you are in command, not your fleeting desire for comfort. Fast for a day. Deny yourself food and feel the primal sensation of hunger. Understand that it is just a sensation, that it will not kill you, that you can endure it. In that voluntary hunger, you will find a new appreciation for the simple act of eating, and you will build a resilience against the whims of your own biology. Sleep on the floor for a night. Wear the same simple clothes for a week. Deliberately strip away the layers of comfort and convenience that have been smothering your spirit. Each act of voluntary hardship is a hammer blow on the anvil of your soul. It is the fire that burns away the impurities, the dross, the weakness. It tempers your will into something flexible, durable, and unbreakable. The exile seeks comfort and finds only anxiety, because he knows deep down that he is unprepared for the inevitable storms of life. The returning sovereign seeks out the storm in controlled, deliberate ways. He builds his ship in the harbor, testing it against small, self-imposed waves, so that when the real hurricane comes, he can sail into its heart with a calm smile, knowing he was built for this. The forging is not pleasant, it is painful, it is lonely. It is the work done in the dark, where no one can see you, where there is no applause. But it is the most important work you will ever do. It is the transformation of your very substance from brittle clay into tempered steel. With your past reframed and your will being forged in the fires of hardship, you must now turn to the most critical battlefield of all, the silent war within your own mind. This is where your exile truly began, and this is where your return will be cemented. Your mind is a kingdom, and for too long it has been in a state of civil war. Your emotions are rebellious warlords, seizing the throne at a whim. Your impulses are marauding bandits, pillaging your attention and energy. Your thoughts are treacherous spies, whispering lies and doubts in the halls of your consciousness. You are a king in name only, a puppet ruler in your own skull. The Stoics taught that the ultimate power lies in our ability to command this inner world. It's not the event itself, but our judgment about the event that causes our suffering. This is the principle of perception, the alchemist's gaze. It is the ability to see any event, any circumstance, and choose the meaning you assign to it. Two warriors can be struck by the same arrow. One screams, "I am wounded, I am defeated. This is a catastrophe." His perception floods his body with panic and despair, and he bleeds out on the battlefield. The other warrior, struck by the same arrow, grits his teeth and says, "This is an opportunity to prove my courage. The pain is a reminder that I am alive. My ability to endure this will inspire my brothers." His perception floods his body with adrenaline and resolve. He breaks off the shaft, binds the wound, and continues the fight, more focused, more dangerous than before. The arrow was the same. The perception was the difference between life and death, between ruin and glory. You must become a ruthless sentinel at the gates of your mind. Every thought, every feeling that seeks entry must be challenged. When the thought "I can't do this" appears, you must stop it at the gate. You must question it like a potential traitor. Says who? Based on what evidence? Is this thought serving my return, or is it reinforcing my exile? You then replace it, by force if necessary, with a thought of your own choosing. This is difficult, and that is why I must do it. The struggle itself is the victory. When the emotion of fear washes over you, you do not surrender to it. You do not try to suppress it. You observe it. You look at it with a detached curiosity. Ah, fear. There you are. What are you trying to protect me from? Thank you for the warning, but I am in command here. I will feel you, but I will not obey you. This is a war fought moment by moment. It is fought when someone cuts you off in traffic and you feel the surge of rage. You have a choice. You can follow the path of the exile and lean on the horn, curse them, and poison your own bloodstream with cortisol for the next hour. Or you can use the alchemist's gaze. This person is likely lost in their own storm of suffering. Their haste has no bearing on my journey. This is an opportunity to practice patience, to guard my inner peace. You consciously choose tranquility over turmoil. It is fought when you receive criticism at work. The exile's mind screams, "They think I'm a failure, my reputation is ruined." The sovereign's mind responds, "There may be a kernel of truth in this criticism. If so, it is a valuable gift that will help me improve. If not, their opinion is outside of my control, like the wind. It cannot harm the stone of my character." This is the art of separating events from the stories we tell ourselves about them. The event is neutral. The story is what gives it power. You have been a prisoner of your own stories for too long. Stories of weakness, of victimhood, of not being good enough. The silent war is the process of burning that old, wretched library of stories to the ground and becoming the author of a new saga. A saga of resilience, of courage, of quiet strength. You do not need to feel motivated to do this. You do not need to feel inspired. This is the work of pure discipline. You are the king. These are your orders. Your thoughts and emotions are your subjects. They will learn to obey. This is not about being emotionless. It is about not being a slave to your emotions. You are building an inner citadel, a fortress within your own consciousness that no external event, no insult, no failure, no catastrophe can ever breach. From within these walls, you will be untouchable. Let us pause for a moment on this journey. We have looked back at the shattering that began your exile and learned not to curse it, but to love it as the catalyst for your true becoming. We have embraced the forge of voluntary hardship, staring into the abyss of our fears and tempering our will with the fire of self-imposed discipline. We have turned our gaze inward to the silent war for the kingdom of our own mind, learning to wield perception as the ultimate weapon, building an inner citadel that cannot be shaken. You have already come so far from the ghost who wandered the Shadowlands. You have found a core of steel within you that you did not know existed. You are no longer just surviving your exile. You are using it. You are transforming. But the journey is not over. The forging of the sword is only the beginning. Now we must learn how to wield it. What we will now explore is the return itself, not as a destination, but as a new way of being. This is how you walk back into the world, not as the person who left, but as the sovereign you have become. This is where your power becomes visible. When was the last time you truly felt in command of your day? Not just reacting to emails, to notifications, to the demands of others, but moving with a deliberate and unshakable purpose of your own design. When was the last time you felt that the day was your creation, rather than something that simply happened to you? Reflect on that feeling, or the absence of it, because what we are building here is the foundation for a life where that sense of command is not a rare exception, but your default state of being. The return of the exile is marked by a profound shift in his relationship with time and mortality. The Stoics were obsessed with the concept of asterisk memento mori asterisk, remember you must die. In the culture of comfort and distraction, this sounds morbid, a thought to be avoided. But for the warrior, it is the ultimate source of power and clarity. The exile wastes his days. He scrolls, he consumes, he distracts himself, living as if his time is infinite. He says tomorrow because he believes in an endless supply of tomorrows. This is the grand delusion that keeps him weak and chained. The returning sovereign lives every day with the whisper of death on his shoulder. This whisper is not a threat, but a mentor. It is the ultimate antidote to procrastination and pettiness. Every morning you must confront your own mortality, not in a fearful way, but in a strategic one. This day could be my last. How will I live it? This simple question incinerates trivialities. Does arguing on the internet matter if this is all the time I have? Does holding onto that old grudge serve my purpose? Does the opinion of that person I don't respect have any weight in the face of my own oblivion? The answer is always a resounding no. Memento mori forces you to focus on what is truly essential. It strips away the noise and leaves only the signal. It is the ultimate filter for your actions. Is this virtuous? Is this in service of my highest self? Am I moving with purpose? Am I treating others with justice and respect? This constant awareness of death fuels your actions with an incredible urgency and presence. You no longer float through your tasks. You execute them with precision and focus, because you know this moment is all you truly have. You listen to your loved ones with your full attention because you know these conversations are precious and finite. You approach your work not as a chore, but as your art, your legacy, the mark you will leave. The thought of death does not make you sad, it makes you alive. It is the dark, rich soil from which a vibrant, purposeful life grows. The exile is afraid of death, and so he is also afraid of life. He lives in a gray twilight of caution and hesitation. The sovereign embraces the thought of his end, and in doing so becomes radically, breathtakingly alive. He lives with a quiet intensity that magnetizes others, not because he is trying to, but because he has no time for anything less than his authentic, powerful self. This leads to the final pillar of your return, living in accordance with nature. This does not mean moving to the woods and living off the land, though there is wisdom in that. For the Stoic, it means living in accordance with your true nature. And what is the true nature of a human being? It is to be rational, to be social, and to be virtuous. It is to use our unique capacity for reason to navigate the world, to contribute to the good of our community, our tribe, and to cultivate the highest version of our character. The exile lives against his nature. He is ruled by irrational fears and desires. He is isolated, focused only on his own pain and perceived inadequacies. He chases external validation, money, fame, pleasure, believing these things will fill the void within him. But this is like trying to quench a thirst by drinking salt water. It only makes the thirst more agonizing. The returning sovereign aligns himself with the path of the oak. An oak tree does not strain to be tall. It does not envy the eagle that flies above it or the wolf that runs past it. It does not complain when the storm comes and lashes its branches. It simply does what it is meant to do. It sinks its roots deep into the earth. It reaches for the sun, and it grows, silently, powerfully, year after year. Its strength is not in its aggression, but in its resilience, in its perfect expression of its own nature. Your nature is to be a being of virtue. The four cardinal virtues of Stoicism are your compass on the path of the oak. Wisdom, the ability to see the world clearly, to separate what is in your control from what is not. Justice, the commitment to treat others with fairness, integrity, and respect, understanding that we are all part of a larger whole. Courage, the strength to face your fears, to endure hardship, and to do what is right even when it is difficult. And temperance, the mastery of your own desires, the ability to find freedom in discipline and moderation. Your return is not about what you acquire. It is about who you become. Every decision you make is a vote for either the exile or the sovereign. When you choose to tell the truth instead of an easy lie, you are voting for the sovereign. When you choose to get up and train your body instead of hitting snooze, you are voting for the sovereign. When you choose to listen with empathy instead of waiting for your turn to speak, you are voting for the sovereign. When you choose to maintain your calm in the face of provocation, you are voting for the sovereign. This is not about grand, heroic gestures. It is about the thousands of small, unseen choices you make every single day. These choices are the atoms that build the fortress of your character. A character so strong, so rooted in virtue, that the world cannot help but notice. People will not know the details of your inner war. They will not know about the cold showers, the mental rehearsals of disaster, the constant vigilance at the gates of your mind. They will only see the result. They will see a person who moves with a quiet confidence that is not arrogance. They will see a person who is calm in the midst of chaos, a rock in the storm. They will see a person who is honest, reliable, and unshakably centered. They will not understand where this power comes from. They will be drawn to it, they will respect it, and they may even fear it, for it is a power that is alien to the modern world of noise and desperation. You will have returned, but you will be unrecognizable. The whining, fearful ghost of the exile will be a distant memory, a snake's skin that you have shed and left behind. In its place stands a figure of immense inner strength, a sovereign who has reclaimed his kingdom and rules it with wisdom and grace. This is the path. It is not easy. It is, in fact, the hardest journey you will ever undertake. It requires you to confront every weakness, every excuse, every comfortable lie you have ever told yourself. It will demand more from you than you think you have to give. There will be days when the old habits of the exile will call to you, whispering of the false comfort of victimhood and despair. You will be tempted to return to the familiar misery of the Shadowlands. But the memory of your own potential, the glimpse of the sovereign you are capable of becoming, will be the fire that drives you forward. You are forging a new identity, not from affirmations or wishful thinking, but from action, from discipline, from a commitment to virtue carved into the marrow of your bones. The power you will gain is not the loud, brittle power of ego. It is the quiet, deep, and immovable power of the mountain. It is a power that does not need to announce itself. It is simply felt. It is the power of inner peace, a peace that is not dependent on external circumstances. It is the freedom from the tyranny of other people's opinions and the roller coaster of your own emotions. It is the dangerous power of a person who has mastered themselves, and who therefore cannot be mastered by anyone or anything else. You will walk through the world no longer as a beggar, hoping for validation or kindness, but as a creator, bringing your own order to the chaos. You will no longer be the effect of the world. You will be the cause. The gates of your old life do not stand. They have crumbled into dust. You do not return seeking permission to enter. You return to build a new world upon the ruins, a world governed by your own principles, illuminated by your own inner fire. The exile is dead. The sovereign has arrived. The long night in the Shadowlands is over, and the dawn is breaking. The real question is not if you will return, but what will you build when you do?